your perspective can be a game changer for you.
They don't know the God we serve.
I came out the womb defying stats. They was like, I don't know about that. I came out the streets defying stats. They was like, I don't know about that. Don't know about that. Don't know about that. Don't know about that. We still defying stats. Don't know about that. Don't know about that. Don't know about that. We still defying stats.
Now listen, for those of you who think we're just going to beat you up for the way you think, that's not the point. That's not the goal. Here's what I believe. We are all logical human beings. I forgot to hit record. See, I can't do that to myself because we're going in. We're all logical human beings. We all have, I really think that we tend to make decisions that are best for us. Like nobody, I think, inherently just continues to make a bad decision and not think it's what's best for them. And I say that even with things that we know aren't quote unquote right, like addiction, take it for instance, right? So a lot of people know drugs are bad for them. Like I know it in my head, but if I know it is bad for me, then why do I keep doing it? Well, I'm addicted. I disagree. I think that, and this is going to step on some toes. I think that it's because subconsciously you think it's serving you. Give you an example. Okay. So I use drugs because even though I know it's bad for me, I use it because I tell myself a narrative that this is going to be good for me in the short term, that I don't have to worry about my problems because I can just numb it with drugs, that I don't have to deal with my insecurity, that I don't have to deal with being stressed out or anxious because the drugs take it off. I don't have to deal with not liking myself because I can just take an upper, that type of thing. So subconsciously, I'm telling myself that this thing is serving me for good. And it's a lie because it's not. Because you use it and then you get addicted to it. And then now you can't get out of it. Now you can't sleep without using it. Now you can't have fun without it. So all you got to do is switch the tape, change the perspective. Tell yourself that, you know what? This is not good for me. Not even in the short term. Because short-term satisfaction leads to long-term bondage. Absolutely. And that's not for everything, but for some things that's true. That when I make decisions for short-term satisfaction, it can lead to long-term bondage. So we're going to talk about the power of perspective. Ryan, I'm going to kick it to you. I got another story just to show you how this can be a game changer for you. But you guys can go ahead and invite people. If you're tuning in live right now, go ahead and click the share button. Hey, if you're tuning in and watching the replay of this, you can just have a watch party on Facebook. You can reshare from YouTube. But just make sure you're spreading the message because we want to share this with others because your perspective can be a game changer for you. One perspective change can shift your life in a whole new direction. I know that a perspective change that has saved marriages, saved businesses, saved people's lives. So that's how powerful perspective is. So Ryan, what's your thoughts on perspective, man?
Man, I really like the kickoff into perspective today. And what a better time with the whole COVID-19 and so many people in places that 2 months ago, you never would have thought about being in, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the world was on fire. The economy was on fire. People had jobs. People were making money. People were happy. Kids were in school. And, so you could definitely say play on baseball here, a major curveball, right? It's interesting, where you started the conversation and leading into what I'm going to kind of say is situational circumstances that lead to self-fulfilled solutions, right? Some of the things that you were saying that if I do this or I take this or this is what I'm going to do to either cope or to become somebody that I normally can't be on the short term. I think it's, you and I talk all the time. Addiction just doesn't have to be a pill or a substance. It can be work. It can be so many different things that distract you from what you should and could be doing, along with manifesting a story that you're telling yourself that they just kind of fit the narrative for, right? So I love it, man. I love this right now, just trying to discuss perspective, where you are, what you're telling yourself, what's the story in your head. And I got to share with you, bro. I mean, you know this, that if you tell yourself something long enough, man, you're going to believe it. You're going to believe it, dude. It took me, what was it? It took me 11 years to finally pull something out of my own heart and my own soul that I had been telling myself,
Mm.
right? I mean, 11 years, dude, that I had told myself either it didn't exist or I didn't do it or that wasn't me. And instead, I just needed that authentic sit down in a mirror and say, listen, let's confront this. Let's be authentic about it, and let's put it behind us and move forward into a new story, bro, a new opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm. I like that. Perspective is telling yourself a new story.
Ooh, that's
It's
great.
so powerful
So
because
powerful.
our perspective, when it doesn't serve us well, it's telling ourselves a story that is either a half truth or just a complete lie, or just toxic. And so we just changed this narrative. We changed the story. Here's my story about how perspective has changed my life. Now, the perspective I had led to suicidal ideation, led to depression, led to low self-esteem. Um, and the perspective came from other people. Be careful of allowing other people's perspective to become your reality, to
Oh,
become
so
your
good.
core belief, right?
That's
So
great.
when I was younger, you can't see it now. I feel like I was darker when I was younger. I feel like somehow I got lighter. But anyways, still my skin complexion, I was one of the darkest ones in my school, right? And so there was this joke that went around every time the lights went off. What do you think the joke was? Where's Darryll? Where's Darryll? All we can see is his teeth. All we can see is his eyes. Ha 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 ha.
Right.
Well, when you're in elementary school and you're getting made fun of for how dark you are, that makes you deeply insecure about your self-image.
Mhm.
Dude, what's wrong with me? Then they used to I'm really telling myself now. They used to have these report cards that went around. And I don't know if you guys did this in your school, but my school, this is how it rolled. So the girls and the guys, we both would have these report cards. You grade everybody in your class on a scale from A to D on how good they were looking. So if you look good, you get an A. If you look bad, you get a D. So these report cards came out and I saw one and I got all D's. Like I was just the ugliest dude in the class, right? So without getting off track, because I went through this period where I started to notice that the reason why I was getting D's is because I wasn't in the in crowd. Because there was people that clearly were uglier than me that were getting all A's, but they were popular. And so I said, oh, okay, I get it. I just do what they do. I skip school. I sell drugs. I listen to the same music. I can get A's. And it worked, right? So, but that's not the point of this. The point is that being made fun of for my skin complexion made me deeply insecure. The second thing was my gap. I don't know if y'all can see it, but I got a big gap. Okay. People used to make fun of that. Oh, I can kick a field goal through the gap, like blah, 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 blah. And so, like, it made me insecure about my gap. I wanted braces, which I'm fine if you want to get braces for you, but their perspective of me became my core belief of me. This is so good. You know how many people allow other people's opinions to become their core beliefs?
Come on.
That was me. Their perspective became my reality. So now I don't like me because they don't like me.
Or what me are you trying to become, Darryll? What me? Because everybody, now listen, watch out now. Everybody loves Darryll because he's 6'5", he's 250, he runs a 4.40. Let's get into that whole athlete identity piece, man, too, right? If they're loving you for, for that, who are you gonna try and be, man? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy sometimes, dude. Whew.
Oh, absolutely,
That's good, man.
absolutely. It's absolutely crazy, and you're exactly right that sports became the thing that I wrapped my identity around. It was like my savior, my God, because I needed to be rescued, right?
Yeah.
So here I am, insecure, no friends, and then guess what? Sports shows up on the scenes and saves me from being unpopular and saves me from being the loser and saves me from getting bad grades, and so, and it wasn't just sports, it was also the street life identity because I started to sell drugs as well. But sports was a big part of it because now same skin complexion, same gap,
Baby.
but this time I'm the star athlete.
Yeah.
I can be as ugly as I want.
Yeah.
I should, you know what I should do, man?
What's that?
I should go back to my Facebook and bring up like a really ugly picture of me so y'all can see how crazy I look. Because some of it was just like, I had to grow into some handsomeness, like just to be real, it's all right, man. It
It
wasn't
is.
permanent, I wasn't the
That's
best
a
looking
tough
guy.
age, man. It's a tough
It
age,
is,
bro. It's such
you're
a tough
growing,
age.
and we were
Yeah.
poor. So like my mom would buy my clothes a couple sizes too big because I kept
Right.
outgrowing them every year. And so
Growing
like my
too.
clothes don't fit. And you know how style, like if I wear something less like sloppy and it doesn't look put together, you look sloppy. But if you wear like some clothes that fit you, it looks better. So I mean,
Yeah.
that stuff plays a role. I wasn't secure enough in myself to say it then,
Yeah.
but it's true. And so, anyways, it's
Yeah.
gonna take me way too long to scroll back like 18 years on Facebook. I was just trying to
Nah,
see
it's
a video
cool.
real quick.
Hey, you know what's really cool too, man? And this is where humanity comes into this, is we crave to be included. Humans crave to be part of a group. Humans crave to be loved.
Mhm.
And so much of perspective, just as you said, can be influenced by other people and actually getting that love, right? And sometimes I even share today, where are those places that kids can get that love? We've turned into such a working society up until COVID, man, where that's all we do. That's all we know. That's the measurement. That's the statistic. That's the goal for everybody is income, possessions, and this and that, bro. And now we've kind of lost track of where those places are, man, for kids to feel loved. And we
Mhm.
sometimes wonder, why is a kid doing XYZ? Well, it's just like you, bro. Like, you were craving a community, right? Where are communities today, man? Where are communities that we can unite with and we can build with, that have this perspective, greater than a dollar, greater than a car, greater than a house, and,
Mhm.
and more based on, as you and I have looked at, just fundamental faith and family, right? Some great foundational places too. Just that perspective, if you want to roll it into
Well, absolutely.
community as well,
That's actually a good segue to the end of my story because when I heard you talking, what I heard is the people you surround yourself with
Yeah,
shape your perspective.
that's it.
Right? Like everyone quotes it. You are the average of the 5 people who you're the closest with. Your network determines your net worth. All that stuff. And hey, it shapes your perspective, your reality. If you're around people who are all left wing, you're gonna be all left wing. If you're around people who are all right wing, you're gonna be all
Yeah,
right wing. If you're all around all Democrats, you're gonna be all Democratic. And it's like there's nothing, excuse me, wrong with those viewpoints, but there
no,
is something wrong with limiting your perspective to one slice. It's almost like if imagine only looking at a building structure from one angle when there's four sides,
yeah,
and so perspective to me is like a diamond, because a diamond, when you turn it, every glimmer of light shows you a different perspective of the diamond.
right,
And too often we're just looking at one perspective. And just
yeah,
like diamonds, if you only look at one and you don't twirl it around and look at it in light, you can get a fake diamond. You can get a fake identity, a false identity, by only looking at one perspective.
that's it, bro.
So, anyways, so people that you surround yourself with shape your
Yeah,
perspective. Now, here's
yeah,
back to my story. So I'm insecure. I don't like myself. I don't like the way that I look. I hate my gap. Okay. I'm going to use something recent. Okay. Because I got over the dark looking thing when I went to college and found out like there's a bunch of Nigerians and stuff that was way darker than me. So I was no longer the darkest person. So I'm like, man, I ain't that dark. And so
there
I
you
got
go.
over that in college. Listen, something that happened to me in elementary school, I got over in college. Look at the
Yeah,
gap. Wow.
that's long.
But
Yeah,
what happened in college? My perspective changed.
that's right.
Okay. Now, let me give you something recent. Like this was in the last year or two. So, one of my friends is Miss Yuandioso. She's in healthcare and all this. She's a lifestyle occupational therapist, and she's got a bunch of titles and she's smart, right? She's originally from Nigeria. So I was doing a speaking engagement with her, like a co-panel type thing to addiction recovery, and I was telling this story about my gap and everything. She cut me off and was like, "It's completely different where I'm from." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She said, "In Nigeria, where I'm from, the wider your gap is, the more distinct you are, and the more people honor you.
What?
Let me tell you how
What?
powerful this is. So you mean to tell me in
Yeah.
America the gap is hated, but in Nigeria the gap is celebrated? That's the
Boom.
power of your perspective.
That's the power of perspective, brother. Come
Can I
on.
tell you something? I went
Wow.
from wanting braces, wanting to close it, to being like, forget this. I'm moving to Nigeria. I'll be a prince.
Celeb, man. You'll be a
But
celeb.
look at the power of that, dude.
Isn't that so good,
Because
dude? Wow,
because
what a
listen,
story, man.
when my perspective changed, my power
Yeah.
came back. My
Ooh,
confidence came back. My
right?
esteem came back. I started to love me again. I am
Right.
so sick of us looking at the mirror and having the perspective of all of our faults, all of our failures, all of our
Come
mistakes,
on.
all of the things that are wrong with us. How about we start looking in the mirror and seeing what's right with us, our gifts, our talents, our strengths, our abilities? Because I am
That's it.
so sick of low self-esteem and mental health issues coming from a perspective that isn't even real to begin with. I don't
That's
mean
right.
to do this, but I just feel my little preacher coming on, because my Bible told me that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Ryan, fearfully does not mean that God was afraid, because God does not give a spirit of fear. He cannot fear anything. It is describing in its original language of a painter who's making a masterpiece that takes his time because he's fearful of making a mistake. What does that mean?
Come on.
God took his time on you. He knit
Yep.
your nose together the way he wanted your nose to be. Your eye that's crooked, he wanted it to be crooked. Your voice that got a squeak, he wanted it to have a squeak, because
That's
the
right.
way that he made you is for a specific purpose. I cannot put together something that requires a flathead screwdriver with a Phillips. It does not fit the mold. Flatheads are made for flat screws. You are made the way that you are made for a purpose.
Yep.
Let me say it this way. Nobody can do you like you can do you. There will
Nope.
never in the history of the human race be another person just like you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And I don't usually go here, but I feel like somebody watching this really needs to hear this, because
Come on.
you struggle with your self-image. You are too busy comparing yourself to other people. The quickest way to self-discouragement is through comparison. Stop comparing yourself. You're not in competition with anyone. You're
Nope.
unique. You're unique. Be you. Love you. Enjoy you. Because you are fearfully and wonderfully made. That's the power of your perspective. I'm on fire now, man. I don't even know what to do. I didn't plan to go there, but we went there.
That was strong, man. That was strong. You know, it's so true, man. Even my kids, you know, kids are so fearless and they're so transparent. You know, yeah, my parents, we couldn't afford braces when I was younger. So to your teeth story, I have crooked teeth, and my kids are always like, "Daddy, why are your teeth so crooked? Daddy, why are your teeth so crooked?" I was like, "Because that's how God made me, and I'm unique, and nobody else is just like me." And I said, "Yeah, you know, we could probably afford it now and get them fixed, and maybe one day, who knows?" I said, "But this is just how I was made, you know." And to see the reaction, bro, when you tell a 7 and a 9-year-old that you're just uniquely made and you're not fearful of it, you're not trying to make an excuse for it, you're not, and that you're okay with it. I mean, man, that perspective from Nigeria, man, that is so good, dude. Talk about swinging a perspective of you being this, you know, internal wrestling match of inferiority or you know, insecurity. And she spun it to where you could get on a plane right now, go over there, and everybody's gonna herald you as a celebrity, man. You know, I mean, this guy's got a gap. Look at this, you know. So, but what stories do we tell ourselves, man? What stories are you trapped in? Challenge the people today listening. What story are you trapped in today? What are you telling yourself? And I'm going to challenge you even further for anybody out there. What are you measuring yourself against? Are you measuring yourself against money? Are you measuring yourself against a big house, fancy cars, plastic surgery? What are you measuring yourself against? Because it's all not real. I tell everybody, you have no idea what the Joneses have Jones in. How about that? They may look like they have it all. It may be perfect. They may pay money to shape their face or their bodies, and their homes are big and their cars are fancy, but they're broken. Let's be real, they're broken people. What are you comparing yourself to? What's your measure? What's the bar you're trying to reach? And what are you overlooking that's so beautiful and unique and wonderful in yourself that you can't even come to terms with and love? Because you got to get there first, D. Nobody else can do it for you. Friends, I tell you, if you're watching today, nobody else can get to you first and foremost in your heart to love you. Nobody else can do it. You got to go there.
Yeah, the Bible commands us to love other people as we love ourselves. So we can't love others well if we don't love ourselves.
What? I tell people that all the time, dude. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't love other people until you love yourselves. It's one of my favorite verses in the Bible that I tell people, you got to get to you first.
Yeah. I heard Bishop Jakes say it this way. It was so powerful the way he worded it. He said, I never met a man that beat his wife who loved himself.
Come on.
That's a powerful statement.
It's truth.
Especially when you think about the typical ego of a person who beats their wife as they're typically tough guy, things like that. You don't talk to me like that. But deep down, they just don't love them.
They're torn up, man.
It's crazy. So yeah, I love the way you're landing this plane. What story are you telling yourself? Who are the people you're surrounding yourself by? Have you, man, forget this. Do you like you?
Yeah.
One of the greatest tests is right now in quarantine, and stillness and meditation. Can you stand being around you? That's a good litmus test. Do you get sick of you? You mentioned comparing yourself to the Joneses. I say people compare themselves to social media. And sometimes there's this narrative when we talk about that, because I always say, don't compare somebody's highlight reel to your real life. Because we look on social media, we see, oh, they had a great birthday. My birthday wasn't good. They got a great marriage. My marriage isn't good, but you don't see the arguments they have. But I'm going to take that a step further and say, even if it's true, and they do have a great marriage, and they weren't arguing as soon as they got done taking the picture. It's usually not true, but even if it was, you still shouldn't compare yourself to that, because you don't know you don't know how they've invested in their marriage. Just like you don't know how the Joneses invested in their wealth. You don't know if they were given that. You don't know if they have a bunch of debt. You don't know if they've been investing for years and years and years.
So true.
You don't know. So still stop comparing, because even if it is true, because it's like, you don't have to like tear somebody's story down and say they're not really that happy for you to be happy about you. You can also be like, all right, they're super happy. I'm not right now. Let me just work on me. Let me just figure out how I become happy and love myself. And so it's not always like, oh, I can be happy because life has sucky parts to it. It's just like, look, my perspective. Let me end on this note, Ryan, because we share some powerful stuff. I just want to tell you how powerful perspective is. Play along with me here. Mm-hmm. For the next 15 seconds, I want you to think about people you lost. Just do this real quick. Everybody close their eyes. Think about loved ones you lost. Think about times you failed. Think about hurtful stuff people have done or said to you. Pause. Don't feel good, does it? Now watch this. Keep your eyes closed. I want you to take another 15 seconds. But this time I want you to think about a time where you were successful in life. I want you to think about an act of kindness that somebody did for you. I want you to think about an act of kindness that you did for somebody else. Remember the joy you had? Remember the time where you didn't think you were going to make it through a dark season and you made it? Aren't you excited? Remember as an athlete when y'all won the game and you all celebrated and did the game chant or whatever you do, turned the music up, danced, had fun? Pause. Feels a lot better, don't it? Perspective. And guess what? Everything that we just did in the last 30 seconds, you have 100% control over. your happiness, your joy, your peace isn't based upon your circumstances. It's based upon your perspective.
One of my
So-
favorite verses, brother, is thankful in all circumstances. One of the biggest challenges I think that exists in the book. So right now in times, I challenge everybody. COVID has thrown us challenges, curveballs, insecurities, uncertainties. I mean, y'all, it's upon everybody. It's not just hitting one economic group, one social group. It's on everybody. But can you find a way to be thankful in all circumstances? And it starts there. Begin your day there. Find those 5 things that you can tell yourself every day that you're thankful for. And it can reshape your perspective and it can reshape your story.
They don't know the God we serve.
I came out the womb defying stats. They was like, I don't know about that. I came out the streets defying stats. They was like, I don't know about that. Don't know about that. Don't know about that. Don't know about that. We still defying stats. Don't know about that. Don't know about that. Don't know about that. We still defying stats.